Beach, Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce. I think it's very important for business people to get together with the community in this type of function. And so it's, I think, a great thing, and the Chamber feels the same way. And we're glad to bring people together with ideas, with questions, with answers. And I hope today goes well. Today we're going to have our timekeeper is Steve Montgomery from Starboard, who's up front. And then Dennis Forney is going to be our moderator, and Dave Gazette. If anybody needs, there are a list of the rules and the agenda over here. Dennis is going to go over that. Again, thank you very much for being here this morning, and enjoy your time.
Welcome everybody, and we have one microphone today, so we're going to pass it back and forth among the candidates, because, you know, in a situation like this, everybody wants to hear what's being said, especially in a forum like this. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with everybody here in Dewey Beach, feeling the push and pull of American politics, and having an opportunity to hear from candidates who will be seeking a commissioner seat on the Dewey Council. This is going to be the procedure today. We have with us Denise Campbell, Gary Mahler, Courtney Reardon, and Rick Soloway. And they will be opening up with a 3-minute introduction, after which we will start cycling through a group of questions, which I haven't even seen yet, that have been handed to me by the Rehoboth Beach, Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce. So what will happen is, each one of the council commissioner candidates will select a number from me, 1 through 7, and I will then read off the question. And the person then will go in order and will go in rotation. So whoever gets the first question will answer, then each of the other candidates will have also a minute to respond. We have 7 questions from the chamber. After that, we're going to open the floor up to questions from the audience. All I would ask is that you think about your question in advance. Make sure it's a question. We're not here to make political statements. And you'll keep your question to a minute, please. And then either one or all will have an opportunity to address it as they would like. And we're going to try to finish up here in about an hour. So that's going to be the procedure. And we're going to start with opening statements. And we'll begin with Denise Campbell. Denise?
Good morning. I might be the most easily recognizable candidate this year when I look to the left, because I'm the sole female candidate. But my name is Denise Campbell, and I have been coming to Dewey for 10 years. I have been a resident of Dewey Beach for 6 years and live in Cajun Cove. My husband and I chose to live in Dewey because of its proximity to the ocean and the bay, and most importantly, its dog-friendly atmosphere. I often tell people that we bought our house for Tucker and Lucy, and we're just along for the ride. With respect to involvement in our community, I chaired the Town Marketing Committee during 2010 to 2011. As marketing chair, I built a committee with representation from all stakeholder groups in Dewey: residents, property owners, and business owners. Working together, we were able to have a positive impact on the town. We were the committee that initiated Yoga on the Beach and Treasure Fest. I'm also the past president of a new community services organization, Friends of Dewey. In just under 10 months, we have raised over $4,000 for town beautification efforts and donated the beach camp to the town. Throughout my professional career, I have managed multi-million-dollar lines of business at Fortune 500 companies, including Quaker Oats, Bristol-Myers Squibb, and AstraZeneca. I understand how to establish and be disciplined in managing expenses and how to identify strategic growth opportunities that create value for all stakeholders. I have had success in managing growth businesses and have also been able to turn around businesses in significant declines. I currently work for Oxford SM, a marketing strategy and capabilities consultancy based in the UK. I also sit on the board for Little Drugstore Products, a privately held multi-million-dollar company located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I am running for town council to change the way our local government operates. Recently, our town government has experienced a few shakeups, including being reprimanded by the state of Delaware for not complying with information requests, the resignation of key town employees, including our town manager and finance director, and growing concerns about public safety. We need smart, new leadership to bring property owners, business owners, and visitors together to improve our community. We must work together to keep our streets safe, bring financial stability to our town, and raise property values. We need a town government that is focused on building consensus and getting things done to improve Dewey Beach. It has always been my approach to identify problems and to pull people together to work on solutions that are a win-win for all stakeholders. If I am elected to town council, I will create more transparency in the way the town council operates so everyone's voice is heard and people's faith and trust in the process is restored. I will bring businesses, homeowners, residents, and visitors together to tackle Dewey Beach's problems in a collaborative way. I will work to crack down on crime, especially violent crime. I will work to identify a predictable and sustainable source of revenue for Dewey Beach. Thank you. That's okay.
Thank you, Denise. Gary, now, just as a moment, Monty, what are you going to do with this?
15 seconds is black instead of yellow. We've changed our policy.
Okay, so
red means your time's up.
cool. You have 3 minutes, and when you see the black thing, time to wind up.
Now we call the police.
There you go.
Okay, good morning. I brought my little timer. My name is Gary Muller. I live in just Severn, Maryland, right next to BWI Airport. I've been coming down to Dewey Beach for 62 years and 9 months, and we grew up here. We spent the summer here. My aunt's been coming down for 91 years, and other memory, short-term memory is not doing too good, or long-term memory is really good. And just the other week we were talking about when she was down here, there was 9 houses on the beach, and it was really interesting to hear the history of Dewey. So it's been our family. It means a lot to me. I like the small town environment. And so anyway, I decided, I want to give something back to the community. I'm a sucker for volunteering. I volunteer for a lot of things back home. We're involved in planning and zoning issues back home for the last 27 years. I'm a member of the board of directors of our community association, president for 10 years. We've seen the whole gamut of those community issues, controversies and whatnot, and I like the challenge to try to find win-win solutions and get things done. And I think it's time for Dewey to have a fresh voice on the council and a fresh approach. I am an engineer, so I'm kind of a geeky guy, but I like to, on my resume, I say I'm a creative geek. So I like to take approaches where I'm thinking outside the box, and I think that's the big thing is that, look for all the possible solutions. Just don't jump to one quick solution. And being a creative geek, I'm beginning to work with artists. We do fashion design with electronics, computers on Wednesday evenings at Maryland Institute College of Art. And I'm finding working with teams of people that tackle a problem from a different perspective has really helped me as an engineer to kind of get outside of my geeky side, my left brain side. I was surprised Denise mentioned dogs, and I really think dogs at Dewey is something else. I just talked to a lady who wanted to rent our cottage. She's driving her 11 hours from Cincinnati because we're dog friendly. And I'm looking for things where we can promote economic development in this town and capitalize and become a tourist destination for quality tourists. Anyway, I could go on forever. This is the first time being a politician. I naturally went to see the movie The Campaign last weekend. I'm all prepared.
Hang on just a minute. Can everybody hear okay?
There is a noise. Could you turn it up a little?
Okay.
I hear a humming noise, a real high humming
Everybody,
noise.
if you'll hold that microphone fairly close, then we'll be able to hear very well. Also, you
It's my age, honey.
You'll notice that today's proceedings are being videoed, and they will be placed on the Chamber's website as well as on YouTube, so others can also hear it. Courtney here, 3 minutes.
I'd like to start off by thanking the Chamber for hosting this forum. I think that the exchange of ideas and information is very important to the democratic process that makes our government possible. I'm sure that my appearance here, I suspect some of the people look upon it as they would accept the appearance of Freddy Krueger in a sequel to Halloween. Halloween was the 13th, Friday the 13th. But I'm here, and why am I here? I think you can, reasonable people can ask, why am I running again? The reason I'm running is that I believe there are two issues that have dominated Dewey politics for the last 10 years in my memory. And those two issues have to do with quality of life, and they have to do with the distribution of the costs of running the government in the town of Dewey Beach. My action has been precipitated by recent activities in the town. I live in the north end of town, and there are 3 instances in which people have invaded homes who were intoxicated and caused disruption of the home environment. One across the street from me, one 4 houses down from me, and another one down the street. I find that the situation in Dewey is dominated by an excessive consumption of alcohol and excessive drunken behavior on the streets, which is coursing the life on the streets of Dewey to the point that it's not an attractive place for a lot of us to go in the evenings. To look and see what other objective views there were of the town, I went online and I looked at virtual tourist. And the second item on virtual tourist, the first item is the storybook. The second item is written by an individual commenting on going to Dewey. And he says, surprise, I went to Delaware not thinking it was going to be a party atmosphere. I found 20,000 people on summer weekends. That's a lot of drunken people in a small area. If you want to party and you're in your 20s and 30s, Dewey is the place to go. I think that's not the kind of image of the community that I want to live in, and I think that we ought to try to ask the business community. I don't think it requires drastic action to recognize that maybe there's a problem in terms of the quality of life in Dewey, and I would look forward to working with the business community, taking small steps to try to improve the situation. Second issue has to do with the property tax, and that is, this is an issue I dealt with in the past. I think if you look at the distribution of the expenses in town and who pays for them, residential property owners who rent their properties pay 8 times the amount of money into the town treasury that is paid by the businesses, and I think it's about time that the businesses think about making contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Rick Soloway.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rick Soloway, and thank you for coming out this morning. I wanted to thank the Dewey Beach Lions Club and Carol and Paul and Dennis, Monty, and everyone else from the Chamber, Julie and Kate, for really pulling together a great forum for us this morning to share some ideas and talk about the issues facing Dewey Beach. I would also like to thank the candidates for their participation and wish them strength and wisdom in their campaigns. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank my wife and family who are here today, being very quiet at this point. But I'd like to thank them as well for their support in my few years as I've lent my services to the town of Dewey Beach and the businesses legislation at hand. My finance and accounting background will lend value to the current tough economic conditions that face our town like all towns. As a business owner of multiple businesses, I have become accustomed to preparing and managing complex budgets and cost centers. Many have asked me, why are you running? You know what you're getting into, and why would you want to get involved in a sometimes precarious political climate here in Dewey Beach? Sometimes I lightheartedly say no idea, but on a serious note, why get involved? The reality is, it's just who I am, and it's what I do. I always have. I feel I'm good at it. I love to get involved, especially when it's for a cause that I harbor this much passion for, this town, Dewey Beach. I feel my family and I have as much at stake in creating a happy coexistence of a fun resort town and a family-oriented community as anyone, because we raised our 4 children here. My goal is a balanced approach to problem solving. That has been my history. I'm certain we don't agree on every issue that arises in Dewey Beach, but I do believe we agree on most, and I try diligently to approach every issue with a calm, forthright, and deliberative approach. Today, I hope to offer further understanding of where I stand on the issues. I oppose a property tax. I do favor noise control. I stand strongly behind 35 feet. I strongly support fiscal responsibility, and I believe that transparency within our town government is a must. I may be wrong, but I don't believe there's a major deviation on these issues amongst the group. Instead, I believe this election is about the professional courtesy, proper conduct, and the mutual respect of peers in executing the daily activities of our town government. This election is about leadership. Leadership is exactly what I have displayed over my 44 years and with my past involvement in town legislation. And I'm here today to offer to lead our town to a better place. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to get into the phase where we start asking these questions that have been prepared by the Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to start with Denise. You can choose 1 through 7. I'll read the question. You respond, and we'll go right on down the line. So 1 through 7, which one would you like?
I'll take 4. It's my lucky number.
Given that tourism and marketing are essential to the Dewey Beach economy, what do you see as the best way for the town to proceed? Tourism and marketing essential to the Dewey economy. How do we proceed?
I think we have to have a twofold strategy around this issue. I think we do have work to be done to restore our reputation as a town and as a desirable destination for vacationers. Vacationers have a lot of choices in front of them when they choose to travel. We really want to have them come to Dewey Beach. I do believe we can find a way where we can have different groups of vacationers coexist peacefully in town. So I think we need to understand what the current perceptions are of Dewey and have a plan to address them. We also need to take a track that I call fix the foundation. If we can't just say Dewey's a nice place, we have to work together to make sure Dewey's a nice place, and we have to work together to make sure that people have a good experience when they come here. That means they need to feel that they will be safe while they're here, that they will have a clean and fun environment while they're here, and that everyone knows what the rules are and what their respective roles and accountability are in public.
Mr. Muller?
Okay, this will, 1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay, well, I'm excited for a lot of ideas we've been thinking about the last couple of weeks of new approaches, new ideas. I'd like to come up with a vision for Dewey, building on the assets that we're good at. I'm really right now kind of psyched up on the fact that one of the big assets is we have a dog-friendly beach, we have a dog-friendly renters, and let's build on things that we're being noted for and expand. I'd like to see more activities, make it more fun and balance out the types of activities so that we have a destination. You go to Rehoboth, you got Playland, you got dollars. Well, we need things that people will remember about Dewey and come back year after year, and we'll write about it in the media and put us on the map. So build on what we have and go forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went online again to assist myself in thinking about Dewey and its reputation and how it might continue to flourish as a tourist attraction. I went to Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Lauderdale, as you know, in the 80s had a similar problem as I perceive we have in Dewey at the present time. And today they pride themselves as being in one of the biggest destination cities in the southern Florida area. And the people that go there, they describe them anyway, as affluent Europeans, intelligent Northeasters, and laid-back Midwesterners. Now, that's PR, but basically that town is totally transformed. I don't think we want to do that. I love Dewey. I love the party aspect of Dewey. I just think we're a little bit out of control. And I think that we have to stop using glittering generalities and face the facts. We're a great place. We got a tremendous resource. And I hate to see it just being down the drain for one particular purpose. Thank you very much.
Soloway, tourism and marketing.
Yes, I do believe tourism and certainly drives the economy here in Dewey Beach. As far as marketing the town, I really think we should tap into the resources that we have here in the community. Not so much be setting too much of a vision from, you know, the people that sit on council. Talk to the folks that are in town. Talk to the business owners that are in town. That's a very untapped resource from the standpoint of marketing the town. They have that expertise. That's their business to market their businesses. And we need to have a better collaborative approach with them on exactly how to move forward, grow Dewey Beach, and market it. We shouldn't be doing too much of that from this table up here or from the legislative table. So again, an awful lot of talent, we should tap into that. Thank you.
Mr. Mahler,
5.
you're going to select number 5.
Let's go for 5.
Okay. Some businesses have made efforts to improve public safety in Dewey Beach. How could this be expanded in a way that assists the chief of police?
Okay. Well, I believe from what I've heard of attending, serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that a lot of the concerns about safety and courtesy, and I believe that respect of your neighbors is ultimately the most important thing, and also the thing that will resolve a lot of conflict. Case in point example is the research triangle in Raleigh-Durham. That facility, that property down, a huge property, it's all built on mutual respect for your neighbor. Don't shine your lights on your neighbor, don't make noise. And I think we need to have that type of thing, no matter what we do in Dewey, where there's respect for the people that are here as year-long residents, the renters, and the businesses. It all has to work together, and I don't see any reason why it can't. We just need to put our heads together, and I think I can facilitate and make that happen.
Thank you. Mr. Reardon, some businesses have made efforts to improve public safety in Dewey Beach. How could this be expanded in a way that assists the chief of police?
Well, one thing I disagree with, and that's the idea of adding more police in the town of Dewey so that we can be safe. I think we ought to change the quality of life in Dewey in order to make it a better place to be. And I think that I would defer to the business community. I think it's, my feeling is if the business community is willing to acknowledge that there's a problem, they have more than enough genius, capability, and money, and creative activity to make this place a more safe community.
Solomon?
I do think the efforts by some of the businesses have gone a long way to assist with heavy weekends in the way of visitors and the increased population. When you think about it, we wouldn't want to have more police all summer long for a weekend that's not as busy as Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and other heavy weekends. So for some of the businesses to step up and bring in outside officers from other municipalities during those heavy weekends, it really makes a lot of sense. It helps their budget. It controls poor behavior on the streets. It's really a win-win situation. And if you talk with anyone on the police force, they would very much appreciate more efforts in that area.
And Denise? I'm not going to do any more misters. It's getting too formal. It just doesn't fit with Dewey. Denise?
I think the collaboration around additional resources for public safety between businesses in the town has been a good one, and I really would like to see it continue. The data really clearly shows that when we have additional resources visible on the streets during very busy holiday weekends, that we have safer experiences in Dewey Beach, and I think we need to work on that and continue to make it even better. I think there is also a role for the community in terms of if you see something, you need to say something, and you can resolve differences between neighbors and businesses as well.
That's it then. Mr. Beard, please. We're going to move to the next question. Anything but 4 or 5?
4.
No, anything but
Oh,
number 5.
okay, how about 3?
3, okay. If you're elected, how would you work to bridge the relationship between the town and the business community?
Again, I think that the business community has the talent and the capability to deal with the quality of life issues that we have in town. Up until this point, there's not been a recognition that there is a problem or a motivation to cooperate with the town. I think once there's that recognition that there is a problem and there's a willingness to work with the business community, I think solutions are readily available and they aren't radical and they would retain or reestablish a balanced community where people want to come to party or people want to come to recreate and enjoy life with their family, and people year-round can have the quiet enjoyment of their property.
Rick, bridging the gap between business and community.
Yes, I think we really should exert some efforts in this area to bridge that gap. It feels somewhat natural to me and for me as I just walk quickly down the street in Dewey Beach. You have Ben and Sharon Roy, you have Gary and Ava Cannon, Zach and Mitch King at the other end, Steve Montgomery is here, Harry and Celeste Gutt, Millers that run the little store. I see them every day. The Cannons go to school with my children. They go to church with many of them. I'm here, I'm in the community. Those folks are very good friends of mine. I see them outside of business. And so my point is, I have a relationship with most all of the business owners. Jimmy O'Connor's standing there in the back, and it will be very easy for me to reach out to them, already having a very solid relationship, to work on Dewey Beach issues and bridging that gap. Thank you.
And Denise, how would you bridge that gap?
Personally, I would bridge that gap by committing to the community that I would hold a town hall discussion once a month and invite members from the business community and any residents that wanted to come to participate in a structured, facilitated conversation about issues, concerns, and solutions. As a member of council, I would work really hard to help both council and the business community identify the 3 most critical issues that we need to resolve in the next year so we can give it the appropriate focus, make sure we have the appropriate committee structure in place to address it, with a clear accountability in terms of timing, deadlines, what the problem is, what the recommendation should be, so that council has something concrete to act on.
Gary.
Okay, well, we kind of do this all the time, doing it 27 years in Justice Improvement Association. I routinely hold town meetings. I like to get people out talking, get the things on the table that are bothering people. There's a lot of technologies out there to help with this. There's brainstorming sessions, there's some online technologies that Norfolk uses, Raytheon uses, that eliminates the hidden agendas. And I think once you start talking about issues and suggestions, and you eliminate the personalities and the hidden agendas, things tend to go real smooth. It's worked for us in the past, and I think I can bring these fresh ideas and new procedures here to facilitate that type of interaction and come up with some collaborative, creative solutions.
Thank you. And then you can pass that down to Rick, please. Rick, 1, 2, 6, or 7?
1, please.
1. What do you see as the biggest threat to Dewey Beach businesses? And what solution would you offer to avoid this threat from becoming a reality? Biggest threat, how do you avoid it?
At various times throughout the past handful of years, I'm certain that the businesses in Dewey Beach have not had a seat at the table for discussions about how to promote their business and how, therefore, if their businesses are doing well, there goes the vitality of Dewey Beach, the community. We need our businesses. We are a tourism type of environment and community, and And what is critical to that is the business infrastructure as much as the town's infrastructure. And again, you need to have good relationships there, built off of sound fundamentals and a good, healthy relationship. That has not occurred in the past, and that's definitely something that I can assist with.
Pass this up to Denise, please. Biggest threat to Dewey Beach businesses, and what would you do to avoid those threats? Reality.
Thank you. I would go back to the earlier points I made. I think one of the biggest threats the businesses face right now is the damage that's been done to our reputation as a town. Because if the tourists don't come, the businesses can't survive, let alone thrive. And so I would go back to my points earlier around we really need to understand how Dewey Beach is being perceived, by the people in the tourist community. And for those tourists that we want to have here in Dewey, we need to make this a desirable destination for them. And we also need to work, as I said before, fixing the foundation. So we have enough trash containers in town on the streets on a Saturday night. We have lighting, we have public safety, so people can come and enjoy themselves in a happy and healthy way.
Gary?
Well, I think it all starts with a comprehensive plan. We come up with a plan of what we see the vision for Dewey Beach for the next 5 years, 10 years out, and we work to that. I like the idea potentially of something called Economic Development Corporation, a nonprofit corporation responsible to the town, to look at the comprehensive plan and develop a strategy for attracting the balanced mix of businesses within our community. So we're not just targeting businesses that cater to the young college, let's go down to Dewey Beach and get blasted crowd, but also the families that bring young kids and they want to have a game arcade or a playland or some other balanced type of activities. And I think we need to work together with the chamber. I think the chamber can take a lead on this, and I'd like to facilitate to make that happen.
Courtney?
Yeah, well, there are businesses and there are other businesses. The shell shop is no longer in business here. My wife had a business here and couldn't survive. I don't know how the other businesses in Izzy's Plaza are going, but generally, if you're not in the business of restaurant and bar, then it's very difficult to survive because you don't have a population that wants to shop and wants to do much other entertainment than being in a bar and being in a restaurant. And I don't know how long that is a form of existence that can exist. People who rent their properties. I'm getting feedback from a number of people who have rented properties for years in Dewey, and they're becoming upset by the fact that the people they rent to are damaging properties. That was the story that happened in Fort Lauderdale. Damage to property became a principal issue with regards to the spring break activities in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, we are down to question number 5. We'll bring it back to Denise. She'll start, and Denise, you can choose 2, 6, or 7.
I'll start, 2.
2. How do you believe enforcement of noise complaints should be handled? And would enforcement response be different or the same if received by a resident or business? So, how do you believe enforcement of noise complaints should be handled? And would the enforcement response be different or the same if it came from a resident or a business?
As I've said this morning, I do believe that everyone needs to follow the rules and ordinances that we have. I think with respect to noise, we need to establish a standard for noise that is acceptable to all stakeholders and is realistic and practical in terms of enforcement. And we need to define what that is for both the residential community and the business community, and we need to enforce it equally so no one group feels singled out or discriminated against.
Well, I'm very particular on music. I'm kind of a blues guy. But I think everybody needs to be treated the same, no matter whether it's a business, a property, a renter, or whatever. The noise ordinance is it, enforce it, make everybody the same. Sometimes nights, I'm not really into the rock and roll with the bottom court. Other times, I wish Alex would turn the volume up on the reggae band, because I really do enjoy reggae. But I think the bottom line is, I think it's gotten a lot better than when I was a kid here. And driving by the starboard and the bottom of the fort, it was quiet. People were having a good time. Residents were having a good time because they could sleep. And I think, if we proceed all in that direction, everybody will be happy. We'll all get along good.
Sounds like Dewey Beach. Courtney?
Yeah, actually, I'm not a grouch on this one. I think that, when I came in, I started to try to get noise under control using objective methods rather than just using the subjective response of police officers, which was not a very effective way of dealing with business noise or dealing with noise from group houses. And I believe the Starboard has done a great job in terms of improving its noise control. I believe the Rudder has done a great job. I believe that Cork has done a good job. I think we got problems down in North Beach and probably problems in Venus on the Half Shell. I don't know what it's called now. V, is it? I don't know the name. And so things can be done. I assume that enforcement is going to be objective and independent and not discriminatory. And I think it's working as well as you can in a community that's dedicated to having fun and having party and having recreation in the summer life that we enjoy here.
When it comes to noise in Dewey Beach, there are certainly the music venues that should be handled in a certain way. I think the efforts around the decibel levels have them moving in the right direction to keep a keen eye and ear on what is the influence on the community. There is another big issue or side to the noise, and that's related to transient noise, roving noise, noise on the streets as we're in the residential houses. And no, I don't think both of them can be handled in the same fashion. I think we need a more comprehensive approach to taking a look at the residential noise. And it's very tightly tied to some of the other behaviors that we have an eye on in the community in the way of poor behavior with public intoxication, public urination. That goes hand in hand with the noise issue. And I think the comprehensive approach to towards all of them would be most appropriate.
We're down to 6 and 7 on the prepared questions. Gary, you're up.
Let's go look at 7.
Would the imposition of a property tax change the tenor of politics in Dewey Beach?
Property tax? Really? I think my answer there is hell no. I want to pay more property tax. I'd move to Ocean City, sell my cottage here, and pay $6,000 in property tax. I think that's the thing that attracts people to Dewey Beach is you're not being burdened with taxes. I really have an issue with that. I think revenue ought to be based on people that need the support from the government. I think at the end of the day, you need to feel like you got your value, your money's worth. And I don't think a property tax would do that. I think it would be imposition in the people that are permanent residents here. I think there's other ways to go about balancing the budget. I would certainly take a hard look at the budget, the resources, what needs to be done before I make any decision. But hey, I'm not impressed with property tax. We have enough taxes already.
Courtney.
Well, I've been against the property tax for 12 years, and I continue to be against the property tax. I think the property tax is ideal for what I would call regular communities in which everybody lives, is in town, lives there permanently. Everybody benefits and everybody pays for the general services of a general service government. We don't have a general services government. We have a government that provides two services, police and lifeguard services. And those are highly oriented towards the summer activities that basically occupy 3 months of the year. And I have a strong feeling that people who benefit from those tourist activities in terms of income should bear a lot of the costs of the services that are provided to support that. And that suggests things like the occupancy tax or the accommodations tax, or some kind of tax that is rateable for the people who come and enjoy life in the party atmosphere. And that's where I would look before I go for a property tax.
Rick?
The question is the imposition of a property tax, and how would that play out on the tenor of the politics within town. I am opposed to a property tax here within town. If we were to impose a property tax, I don't think that would change the tenor of the political discourse within town. In my humble opinion, I've come to find if you give legislative bodies money and more money and more money, they will continue to spend, spend, and spend. So will that change the tenor of the politics in town? I don't think giving them more money through a property tax is really the answer. There's definitely other answers that can be utilized to solve our budgetary woes that we have in this town and throughout towns across the country. That's what I do on a daily basis. That's my background. I think it's a very solvable problem that we have here within Dewey Beach. Thank you.
And Denise, would the imposition of a property tax change the tenor of politics of Dewey?
Well, I think a direct answer to that question is I don't think we can confuse tactics with tenor of politics of Dewey. I mean, that really goes to behavior. And what we have seen is a breakdown in communication, collaboration, and mutual respect across town. So if we're really asking a question about restoring the tenor of the atmosphere in town, I think it's more about behavior change than taxes. And that comes from all stakeholders and all sides. With respect to taxes, I think that's a question that really is a symptom to a bigger issue in town, which is how do we make sure that we have predictable revenue in town? And the first step in reaching that goal is to really make sure that we are being responsible with expenses and making sure that we are using our expenses as efficiently as possible, so we have checks and balances on spending before we ask people for more money.
Thank you. The final prepared question is number 6, and we'll start with Courtney. What additional recreational opportunities would you like to see developed by Dewey Beach? Additional recreational opportunities.
Additional recreation, it's difficult given that we're, is it 21 or 20 blocks, most of which are occupied. Maybe things like trivia games in some of the facilities in town. But in terms of physical activities, I think the beach is pretty much occupied with volleyball, with skimboarding, and as much surfing as possible. I personally can't think of any additional recreation activities that we could take, but I'd be welcome to listen to any that would be proposed and would be successful.
Rick?
In Dewey Beach, we are one of the few towns that I know of that have an ocean on one side of us and a very nice bay on the other side. I don't know that the bay gets utilized as much as it could. That could certainly be looked towards for additional recreational activities. I also think since we have such a great beach as well, we've received awards for that and for the water quality, that the beaches could certainly host various recreational events to complement the town. We've already started down that path with movies, bonfire, and we've had an occasional event out there that I think has been well appointed and very appropriate within Dewey Beach. Thank you.
I would like to see us to do more to continue to leverage the ocean and the bay. I think it's great that we have the skimboarding championships here every year. I'd like to see us bring more events like that to town, whether it is kiteboarding, paddleboarding, other water sports, having volleyball tournaments on the beach, and having spent significant time in other towns along the East Coast, I also really like the idea of a first night celebration on New Year's Eve for Dewey, like other towns. And I really liked what Harry Wilson did last year to kind of start that off with the surf rider drop.
Oh, wow, you get me started on this one. I think we have a lot of exciting opportunities. I was just talking with the chamber before we started here. And I don't know what to call it. It's called a destination discovery.
Destination Station Center.
Okay, it's going to be a great facility when it gets off the ground. It'll be a year-round tourist destination attraction for schools and people that want to learn. And I think in the comprehensive plan, there's talk about a bay walk. Suppose we took and we combined what the chamber is doing with a bay walk where we had underwater observation. We could look at, the kids could come down and look at the fish and the life that exists under the water, and tie all that together, look at redevelopment potential along the bay walk and have businesses with service, family type clientele here at the beach. I think there's a lot of potential. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm ready to get started and make it happen.
You can pass that right down to Rick. We're going to take some questions from the floor. Remind you that we'd like to make sure that it's a question. We'd like to keep it to a minute. Try to move into areas that we haven't already discussed. So who would like to start? Well, you can direct the question toward anyone that you would like, or to everyone. So, yes, sir.
Dale Buck from Chester Street. With all the problems we've had, the town itself has had with the situation in town hall, turnover of personnel, etc., how would you all address that, and how it compares to issues with the business community?
Okay.
Anybody?
We'll start with Rick, and we'll just go right through the rotation.
Okay. Question on the turnover going on in town hall with town managers, multiple town managers over the last few years, and now finance director. It's unfortunate, but it's certainly indicative of an issue. There's obviously a problem. Some of let's take the last two people that have left. Bob Stickles has a very long, good history and track record in government affiliation over the last couple of decades. It took him no more than 6 months before he walked out. So obviously something is going wrong. It would be nice if there would be some open discussion instead of just excuse making and speculation as to why people are walking out of town hall. But something needs to be done, and I think it ought to be an agenda topic that we all sit down and talk about instead of just one article in the paper and then off goes that very valuable resource that we really could have utilized within town.
Denise, how would you deal with all this turnover?
I think it's very sad that we've lost two very highly qualified people in a short period of time, and it does indicate that there are some issues, and it's another piece of evidence that we do not have a positive environment and culture in town right now, and we need to fix and address that. And we need to talk to people in town hall, the employees and the police force and others, to really understand what the situation is so we can fix it. You know, in the absence of data that I have visibility to right now as a candidate, what I can offer is from my professional experience, people leave when they're not feeling that they're being valued. And I think that's really sad because we've lost some great people from the town.
I like to look at problems as opportunities. And I don't know these individuals personally. A lot of reasons why people get dissatisfied. There's a lot of challenges, new challenges being faced in Dewey Beach. You all know that. Some people can adapt, some people can't. But I think we're going through a transition phase. We're trying to rethink where Dewey Beach is today, where we want to be out in 5 years. And you know, let's not beat a dead horse. Let's move on. Let's be positive. And we'll find some good people to fill those positions. And I think down the road, a year or two down the road, everybody will be happy.
And Courtney?
With regards to personnel matters, I'm very reluctant to speculate about why someone stays or goes in a job. It would be nice if we could get exit interviews signatures from people, and that might make that investigation possible. I think if I were elected commissioner, I'd do like I did before when I was elected commissioner, and that was work with my fellow commissioners and thoroughly convince ourselves that we have a town hall environment that is good for employees. And when I first took over, the biggest issue with the employees was one of money. Our police officers were underpaid relative to the police officers in all the other coastal communities. And one of my first priorities was to make sure we rectified that. And that helped a lot in terms of the morale and the losing of police officers that we had been experiencing. And I would suggest that that's what we ought to do with a new page if I were elected commissioner.
Another question? Please. Yeah.
What are your position on legal bills?
Legal bills. Any thoughts on legal bills? We'll start with Denise.
I am really struggling as a citizen to understand why the legal bills have accelerated as much as they have over the past year. And I think we need to look at that as closely as we need to look at every other line item on the budget to make sure that we are spending our resources effectively on the most critical legal needs we have versus the nice-to-do expenditures, which is my hypothesis of what might be happening.
Gary?
That's a real good question. You know, there's a meeting tonight at Planning and Zoning. I know Harry Wilson would love to have this size audience in there because a lot of the things that I think you're talking about here have resulted from the wording and what words you use, how they're used, appropriate words, inappropriate words in the Planning and Zoning comprehensive plan. So I would recommend bringing your thoughts and your opinions tonight to the P&Z meeting and express and help review that document. We're in the process of a mid-period update. And that document, if it's not worded right, it can certainly lead to a lot of legal challenges, and there's your bills. So we got to get control over the documents. We got to get control over the processes that are done in the town, and that's how you manage your legal bills.
Yeah, I would agree that legal bills are high in the town. I haven't looked at them lately. I don't know what the cause is, but I know that every time you have an important meeting, I have to write an important document. It's very important that you have adequate legal support. I think that the whole DBE exercise that cost hordes of money to this town was, I think, precipitated by, unfortunately, a poor crafting of the density issues in the zoning code and how they applied to mixed-use areas within the town. And I hate to add up the amount of money that was spent because of that mistake. And that mistake, of course, was done because of, I don't know how much legal assistance was provided in drafting of that original zoning ordinance, but it's worth all the money you put into it sometimes. And you just have to be more discriminating in terms of how you look for the legal assistance and how you pay for it.
The majority of Dewey Beach Enterprises legal bills were paid by insurance, not paid out of Dewey Beach pocket. So why are the legal bills still going up? It's basically because of other issues. If you go out to the town website today and just look over the last 10 months, you can count 96 meetings. That's how many meetings we've had just in the last 10 months. The majority of them have to have legal representation. There's one, case in point. I could go on with a list of about 20, but it would be quite easy to fix. When asked about this a couple of quarters back, it said that when Grotto's asked for additional space or for the deck, then those costs ran up. But I haven't seen anything since then that said, if you're going to ask for some grievance in that area and you run up the legal bills, then you'll have to be responsible for all the work legally that's done to allow that to happen. So that's one of the second thing that we could easily change. It's a very solvable problem.
Sarah Walsh, Salisbury Street. The comprehensive development plan calls for us to foster an environment that is year-round and to increase our shoulder season events. Can you tell me if you're in favor of increasing those shoulder season events and how you would go about making that happen?
All right. Are you in favor of increasing shoulder season events? And if so, how would you make that happen? And Gary, we're going to start with you.
Well, we rent 2 houses on our property, so certainly I would want to increase the shoulder events. My favorite time to come down to Dewey is the spring and the fall. So I love it. I love the fall. I love the spring. So I would look to collaborate. Here again, I think the chamber should be the leadership here. They represent the whole business community, and we work together. We hold meetings, we hold collaboration, we brainstorm, and we make it happen. I just want to comment on the legal bill issue. You know, the problem with what I see is this event.
We're staying on the shoulder season events.
Well, then, yeah, I'm in favor of it. It's plain and simple. I will support any effort to expand those events because I think it's good for business, it's good for the tourism, and it's good for the property owners.
Courtney? Shoulder season
I'm totally in favor of the shoulder season. It might keep basically Pfeiffer's Market open a little longer. So I would have the opportunity to buy their great food and their great produce all year round. Yeah, I don't have a lot of originality or creativity in this area, but I certainly would encourage anybody who's an entrepreneur or anybody who has ideas about entertainment or recreation to come forward if they're a commissioner, and they're fully supported and provide whatever town support was necessary to make it happen.
Yes, the comprehensive plan does call for increased shoulder season activity. And we often make comments about, yes, that would be great. Those are good times of the year. It's very much like what I deal with on a daily basis. Someone might come to me and say, Rick, do I have enough money to last me into retirement? But unless you follow that up and say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this, then you have to lay out the path to get there. You can't just say that you want to be there without working hard and vigilantly and diligently on getting that path defined. So we do need better communication, and we need it with the businesses in town. Recently there was a discussion about extending of premises on the shoulder season. Well, we just limited that. How about if we wanted to have additional runs for breast cancer or things of that nature, even if they included no alcohol? We can't do it now because now we can't have that many additional extension of premises. We continue to make bad decisions from a legislative standpoint.
Thank you, Rick. And Denise?
So I do support the comprehensive plan to have more events during the shoulder season, and I think we need to continue to have a dialogue with the Delaware Tourism Bureau. They're a great resource. When I was chair of the marketing committee, they were always looking out for events that they knew would work well in Dewey and bringing opportunities to Dewey. And I think working with them, we can bring some really good shoulder season events to the town. And I think we need to be focused and pick 1 or 2 things and do them really, really well. Because a great event doesn't happen in its first execution. You really have to keep at it, and it builds year over year. So my recommendation would be to pick 1 or 2 things and really give it a good 5-year run to get it established, and then we can start thinking about adding other things.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Jim Laird here. Tying in the first question, tourism and marketing, and I've heard a couple statements along the budget, relative to the budget. I don't know if you're aware, but over the last year and a half, there's been quite a bit done on looking at predictable and sustainable issues, revenue. And part of that is, it comes out of 4 buckets. Tourism promotes about $1.4 million. I heard a statement made that the folks that rent their properties generate 8 times more than the commercials. I don't think that's correct. Those folks generate $109 per business license. There is a proposal on the table after a 5-month study from the Budget and Finance Committee that would look at 3 or up to 10 options that would cost the residents of town persons like myself that contribute nothing on a recurring basis to the operations of the town, where there is proposal for possibly a $200 on average fee, tax, whatever you call it, per resident to take care of our infrastructure on town. My question is, would you support, this council currently has not chosen to move forward a workshop or a public hearing with that proposal. My question is specifically, would you, if elected, vote to encourage workshops and public hearings on the proposal the Budget and Finance has on the table?
Okay. Would you support workshops on the proposal the Budget and Finance has on the table? Start with Mr. Clerk. Clerk, please.
I think any proposals ought to be heard, and they ought to be heard in public hearings, because the Commission needs that kind of input if they're going to make decisions that are going to affect the finances of homes as well as the town. With regards to the issue of 8 times, I consider the fact that someone pays an accommodations tax and charges it to their rental as coming out of the footprint, and I call it the financial footprint of what kind of activities you're carrying in the town in terms of what it causes the town to have to spend to make that activity possible. And the footprint that is there for residential rental homes, those people are paying 8 times what the bars are paying for their footprint, which I believe in terms of the number of people that come into town and take advantage of the services in town is much greater. So I think there's a difference in terms of what we find as the source of the revenue. But by all means,
That's it. Gordon, thank you. And Rick, on this proposal.
Yes, I think there's a fairly easy answer. We had some members of our Budget and Finance Committee here this morning, Steve Hughes, Mark Allen, David King. They've done an awful lot of work related to revenues, where they come from, who generates them, an awful lot of homework and many meetings. Why this council hasn't taken that up to further it, I'm not quite sure. I missed a couple of meetings, so I can't piece that together. Why that hasn't happened. It should happen. There should be public hearings. And to be quite honest, it really ought to end with a referendum on the vote. It should have been set up to happen less than a month from now, where people could go to vote and they could basically vote on various plans that have been proposed by Budget and Finance. Let the people decide. They come together once a year to vote. That's where this should have happened, and it should be coming to a vote within less than a month. Let the people decide.
Denise, you're up.
So I do believe that those proposals should move forward and would support them moving forward for public hearing. And I also, as I said earlier, think that has to happen in tandem with a continued review of our expenses to make sure that we have really got our current budgetary house in order before we go and ask for additional funding from other stakeholder groups. And I also agree that when and if we get to that point, it should go to referendum.
Gary?
I think I've answered Jim's question already, and I think you're asking, would I help facilitate discussion and moving this thing forward, and that's what I did. I like to get people together, I like to facilitate, like to bring things out and have open discussion and look for win-win solutions. And I'm not going into this position on council with any kind of baggage. I try to approach things, and I want to approach it with an open mind and not any preconceived emotions. So I'll evaluate things on the merit and analysis and the inputs from the property owners and the citizens and the businesses, and hopefully come up with a reasonable recommendation and legislation going forward.
Thank you. We've got time for one more. Right in the back.
Well,
No, excuse me, sir. I called on the lady.
Hello, Mary Dewey Business Partnership. There's a notion around town that the proposal is to close the restaurants and bars early. Do you oppose or favor this idea?
Okay. Suggestion that maybe the bars and restaurants ought to be closed earlier. Do you oppose or approve this suggestion? And let me see, where are we? We're going to start with Rick.
No, I don't think that's the solution. When you look at the businesses that we have in town, they have a very limited window to make their living. And again, these are people that my children go to school with, go to Sunday school with, and to see them be on a window of just about 10 weeks to be able to survive and make their living, no, I can't see us as legislators within town. We should have nothing else to do with that process. They're already pressured enough on the time frame and to be able to market their business and to make a living. They shouldn't feel threatened by the town legislation that they're going to come in and do something else to their business. They have too much to manage already. It should not be done.
And this is good, Denise.
I do have a lot of empathy for the business community here because in a previous chapter of my life, I did own a small business and I realize how precious time is, and so you need to maximize the opportunity. I think the proposal, it's really not clear why we would want to close those establishments earlier. It seems that if it's about noise, if it's about public intoxication, I think there are other solutions as a community that we can come to solve for that versus taking a measure such as closing early.
Let's see, that goes then to Gary.
Well, Kelly, I know I'm overdressed for Dewey Beach. I want to assure you that I do understand the Dewey Beach way of life, and I will go out and party like the rest of them. So as long as the music and the rowdiness does not wake me up when I do decide to go to bed, which is usually late. And like I say, in the last week or two we've been down here, it's been great. The starboard has been great. And I will say that the bartenders and the barmaids of the starboard are the core factor in the Dewey Beach. They're critical of the Dewey Beach. I learned that from the movie. I don't think I put it exactly right. But no, I do believe that, like, you know, the bars need to be successful. As long as we all play together well, then I think it's fine. And from what I'm seeing here lately, at least sound level, it's looking great. What I'm concerned about is what happens with the drunks when they walk back to their houses. And I think that it looks like our police force is addressing those issues too.
Thank you, Gary. Go to Courtney. Should we close the bars earlier?
No, I wouldn't. And, I think that was one of the issues in the last campaign that I ran here. I had made a comment in the Finance and Committee meeting where I said we needed more money in the bar people represented by Highway 1 said, if you ask for one more dime, we're going to sue you. And I said, well, if you're not willing to pay, I can't be promising to come up with a property tax or more money from the residential property owners. So you might have to cut expenses and then you'd have safety problems. And if you have safety problems, one way to handle that is to close bars early. That was transmogrified into a 11 o'clock closing that I wanted to do for bars. Nothing could be further from the truth. I think the bars ought to stay open till 1 o'clock. I like the idea of partying, but I don't like the idea of a lot of drunks on the streets coarsening the lifestyle of Dewey, and I don't like people causing excessive noise, which disturbs me and others in the quiet enjoyment of my property. And so I think we can come together. I think the business community, I could quote the business community that said, we don't need commissioners, we don't need a council. And that was in the last election. So I hope if that attitude changes, we can do something. But
thank you, Courtney. Okay. Appreciate it. And sir, you were so kind to defer to the lady. We're going to allow you to have the last question.
Yeah, just one question. Like, in being here, it seems like you guys are both running for become like an activity director of some sort. And I was just wondering if any, and then you asked about, was it police increasing their salaries possibly to increase morale? And will any of you agree to not raise taxes or fees? Because financial matters concern me the most. And it seems like everyone wants to increase fees and make Dewey a place where a parking permit goes from $100 to $200. So what is your position on taxes and fees? Will either of you pledge to not raise it when you're in office?
Taxes and fees. And I think we'll just go ahead and run right through and let everybody. Denise, we'll start with you.
So I think what my position on this, again, is really we have to understand how we can have a predictable and sustainable source of revenue for the town. And I think right now, until we go through the process of understanding what our true expense requirements are and how we can source funds for the future, it's premature to talk about solutions. And we have to go through the due diligence of the process and understand our expenses and true revenue sources, and then we have to open it up for public comment, and it has to go to referendum. I don't think this is a decision that a commissioner makes. I think this is a decision a community makes, and it makes it together through an open and transparent process that ends in a referendum.
At a recent Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we had this discussion, and it really is a trade-off. If you want to have large events tend to bring more people, and hence the possibility for more police protection, trash pickup, all the whole 9 yards. So it becomes a trade-off. It's what the community wants. What do the citizens want? Do you want more events throughout the year? Do we have to bring in special backup people? And that's what we were finding was that when we questioned our police department, they said we don't have the resources to manage these large events. They rely on other local police departments to come in part-time, but if that town is having an event, then those people aren't available. So it's a trade-off, and it's not a simple answer, but I think we've got to get together here, like I'm saying again, talk about it and decide as a community what do we want. Sure.
Well, I can't make that plea because I don't know what services the new fees or taxes would pay for, and who would have to pay those services or fees. All I can promise is that my principle is if you're going to provide services, you should try to make the people who benefit from those services pay the majority of the cost by way of a fee structure, a tax structure, or some payment structure that doesn't impose the burden on someone else. I once heard someone say, the government is the institution whereby everybody tries to live off everybody else. And that's true at the local government level as any place else. You try to get the benefits, you try to have someone else pay for it. And basically I can commit to say that if there's a proposal to increase taxes, I'll ask who benefits and who pays, and is there a fair distribution of the costs of providing something?
My background is in accounting, finance, financial planning. That's my specialty. That's what I do. We have these issues come up on town agendas time and time again, and it doesn't seem like we're able to move them to a sustainable end. So there is a process. Denise laid it out whereby it ends in a referendum and done by a community, not by a commissioner or a group of commissioners. So I would certainly second her answer. In the way of managing the town's finances, we don't want to jump to just raising a tax. First, you have to look at controlling your expenses, and then second to that, take a look at increasing friendly revenue within the town. I think we could revamp our parking system and increase revenue in this town. That's a lot more friendly than imposing a tax on all of you. And then the third and final would be moving in that area. We have not gone through those steps yet.
Appreciate it. Thank you for everybody coming out today. Nice to see 4 candidates who have given so much thought to it, and give them a round of applause. The election will be held Saturday, September 15th in the Light Saving Station on Dagwood Street, 10 a.m. to 6. Get out and show them that you care too and cast your votes. On behalf of the Rehoboth Dewey Chamber of Commerce, thank you.